Yo, everybody, if you know who Charles Basketball Bassey is, you already know what we're about to talk about. If you don't, you're about to become a Bassey believer by the end of this video, 100% guaranteed. This man has been disrespected by the entire league for 5 years now. Bounced around, underplayed, slept on, and every single time he gets minutes, he shows us, he proves he should never have been sitting on the bench in the first place. Today, we're breaking down the full Charles Bassey slander timeline, and I'm giving you the receipts. Let's get right into it.
6 points, 4 boards for Bassey, who's working on 9 straight double-doubles. Bassey, and one. Bassey, low by, jam it down.
And that is a result.
Nice lob. Bassey beats everyone down the floor.
Let's start at the beginning of Charles Bassey's career, 2021, the draft. The Sixers, the Philadelphia 76ers, select Charles Bassey at pick 53. That's the kind of pick that usually never gets in the league, not gonna lie. They usually never touch the league. But Charles Basketball Bassey wasn't any usual pick. Rookie year, they are wasting away. He's wasting away on the bench, untapped potential. But when he did get on the court, which wasn't often, check his efficiency. This man was already shooting over 63% from the field as a rookie. That's not a fluke. That's not luck. That's not none. That's a foundational skill. A 53rd pick outperforming his draft slot from day one, and Philly didn't pay any attention to it. Didn't get up his minutes. Didn't do nothing. They wasted Charles Bassey, and they waived him in October 2022. Philly's loss. We all know Philly was gonna make a decision like that. You know what I mean? Next, in the era of Charles Basketball Bassey, the San Antonio Spurs pick him up immediately after he's waived by the Philadelphia 76ers. An amazing move for the Spurs. Bassey earns a two-way deal. Then he earns himself a real 4-year contract, a $10 million contract by February 2023 with the San Antonio Spurs. And let's talk about what he did in San Antonio, because this is where the legend of Charles Basketball Bassey starts. In one season, he's shooting over 70% from the field. That's not just efficient, that's not just good. That's elite tier finishing at the rim. Not many players in the NBA are doing that. That kind of percentage you see from top 10 bigs in the whole league. And guess what? Charles Bassey is one of those bigs. You know what I mean? Injury slows him down in 2024, completely out of his control, not a skill issue, just bad luck, you know what I mean? And next season, the San Antonio Spurs get Wemby, and Wemby's presence crowds the front court, and the Spurs simply run out of room for him. They probably should have obviously Wembanyama's amazing, he's all right, but, they probably should have, cleared up 5-10 minutes a game for Charles Bassey, so they could keep developing him into the star that he will be. The Spurs, they just ran out of time. Charles Bassey contract ended, it was the 4 years were passed. And they never re-signed him. Not because he wasn't good enough, because just the time didn't work out. They got Wembanyama. And this is a pattern in the career of Charles Basketball Bassey. Right production, amazing player, does everything he needs to do on the court. And teams they must be watching the games with their eyes closed. They can't see what's right in front of them. But let's move on. The next small portion of Charles Bassey's career, summer 2025. He was not signed by any team. We didn't know where he was going, but then he started showing up in the Celtics practice rooms. We saw him, and Charles Basketball Bassey, and for the first 3 games of the 2025 Summer League, Charles Bassey is playing with the Celtics. Charles Bassey balls out for the Celtics. Teams see it. Everybody sees it. And Atlanta signs him in September to a preseason contract. Charles Bassey was being called a Celtics legend after dropping 22 and 13 in one Summer League game. He played fantastic. He shot over 40% from 3 in the Summer League. Let that sink in. A man who was just putting up double-doubles, 22 points, 13 rebounds in the Summer League, gets signed by Atlanta on a preseason contract. And then in Atlanta, Charles Bassey plays a couple games in the preseason. He's competing with a guy named N'Faly Dante, who is, just so everybody knows, is not in the league anymore and got waived by Atlanta through the season. And this is who they picked over Charles Bassey for a regular season contract. With the Hawks in the preseason, Charles Bassey had a 17 rebound game with 5 blocks. He was playing absolutely fantastic. He did 17 rebounds in 31 minutes. He had 5 blocks, 2 steals. Fantastic game. And Atlanta, like we said before, with Atlanta and the Celtics, they couldn't see what was right in front of them, the greatness of Charles Bassey, and they decided just not sign him and go a different direction. Like I said, this is a pattern in the career of Charles Bassey. The 2025 season starts without Charles Bassey on a NBA roster. Terrible, but Charles Bassey, one of the most hard-working players in NBA history. He's working out, he's staying ready, and that all pays off. He gets called up by Memphis for a 10-day contract because they're on a hardship deal. They're very injured. And what does he do? He proves that he belongs in the NBA, that he deserves a roster spot. He averages in 2 games, he only played 2 games, 7.5 rebounds a game. Instantly the best rebounder on that roster on a 10-day contract, thrown into a new system, with 0 notice, and he averages, 7.5 rebounds a game. They signed him to another 10-day contract, so he's on 2 10 days with the Memphis Grizzlies, catching alley-oops from Ja Morant, and the deal runs out, the second 10-day expires, and Memphis' other bigs got healthy who are not on the same level as Charles Bassey, and they let Bassey walk for nothing. They let him leave. Nothing to do with Bassey's performance. He gets bumped the second the situation changes, no matter how well he plays. Keep this in mind. This is a pattern with Charles Bassey. It happened with the Celtics, the Spurs, the Sixers, the Hawks. This isn't a talent problem. This is a league. Every team in the league is not giving Bassey the opportunity that he's earned multiple times. After Charles Bassey's stint with the Memphis Grizzlies, the Santa Cruz Warriors trade for Charles Bassey's G League, rights. I don't really know how it works. Trade for Charles Bassey in the G League, which he wasn't playing on in Austin. He comes to the Santa Cruz Warriors, and he's playing in the G League. In the G League, this is where we get the proof. You watch these G League games, this is it. That Charles Bassey is a NBA player. In the G League, Charles Bassey averages 20.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game with the Santa Cruz Warriors, where he's also shooting 36% from 3. And that's a skill people didn't even know Charles Bassey had, but he could do it. He's averaging a 20-point double-double with 2 blocks, anchoring the defense in Santa Cruz, and finishes 3rd in the entire G League in blocks. And he didn't even play the entire season. He's the only player in the entire G League averaging 20 points and 12 rebounds a night, a double-double. Not top 5, not one of the best. The one and only, nobody in the entire G League was doing what Charles Bassey was doing this season. He's a certified superstar at the G League level. He's too good for the G League, and the NBA calls him up for a grand total of 1 game across 2 separate 10-day deals with the Philadelphia 76ers. He returns where he was drafted. He didn't play in 6 straight games after he was signed with the 76ers. I don't really know why they called him up to just not play him at all. He played 1 game. He only played 2 minutes. He had 2 points. He didn't get to do anything. That's not a Charles Bassey problem. That's not he's not working out enough. He's not talented enough. That's the league and the NBA and these teams not giving him a chance to shine in the NBA for an opportunity that he deserved, that he's earned. So the 76ers called him up from the G League for 20 days. After his 20 days was over, they let him back down to the G League, but it was a complete waste of time for basketball legend Charles Bassey. Now, Charles Bassey, like we all know, balling out in the G League, the most disrespected I think I've ever seen a player in NBA history. March 2026, Boston signs Charles Bassey, and Bassey does exactly what he's there to do. Shows up, works hard, and when he gets those minutes that he deserves, he shoots over 85% from the field for the Celtics. 85% on a title contending roster. These aren't the Memphis Grizzlies. These aren't the New Orleans Pelicans.
I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
This is a championship roster, a team that is a top 3 seed. And he, in interviews and press conferences, whatever you want to call them, he talks about how much he loves Boston, how much he's a fan of it. He's a locker room guy. He's efficient on the floor. He works hard. When he gets run, he gets blocks, he gets rebounds, he gets points. He's doing everything that he needs to do. People, Celtics fans who were actually watching the games, not people who just look at stats, who were actually watching the games, said that they wanted Charles Bassey on the roster permanently They want him on a regular season contract immediately. Charles Bassey gets a second 10-day, so he's there for another 10 days. And Boston let his 10-day expire and signs somebody else instead. They signed Ron Harper Jr. to a regular season contract. I need us to look at this, right? And we need to understand this is the most disrespected a player has ever been in NBA history. He's shooting 85% from the field. He has getting locking down the defense. That's what the Celtics needed. They needed a defensive anchor, and Charles Bassey filled that role perfectly. And you let him walk for Ron Harper Jr., a guy who pretty ass. We were robbed once again of Charles Bassey on a regular season roster. And this is, like I said, the pattern continues with Charles Bassey. He performs, he earns a roster spot, he earns playing time, he earns minutes, and yet the NBA team just lets him walk for nothing. This is a pattern. I need y'all to see this. Let's move on, man. But in Boston, Charles Bassey, Celtics legend. And look, as we all know, just a reminder for y'all who maybe weren't paying attention. Charles Bassey, this entire time when he's not playing in the NBA, when he's not caught up on these 10 days, he's playing for the Warriors G League team, the Santa Cruz Warriors. And then finally on April 5th, the Golden State Warriors signed Charles Bassey to a 10-day and immediately makes a massive impact on the team. This man goes for 14 points, 12 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks against the Sacramento Kings, a double-double in his second game as a Golden State Warrior. First double-double of the season for Charles Bassey in the NBA. Like I said, he was given an opportunity. He played 27 minutes that game, scored efficiently, got rebounds, got blocks, anchored the defense, and look what happened. Days after that, very next game, Charles Bassey against the Lakers, against dominating, had 12 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks against the Lakers. This is back-to-back double-doubles in the middle of a playoff push. The Warriors were trying to move up to make the play-in. Curry coming back from his injury, and the whole roster needed Charles Bassey to show up, and that's exactly what he did. He had back-to-back double-doubles, locked down the court when he was there. And this is exactly what I've been saying the whole time. You give this man 15, 20 real minutes where he can contribute, and he produces immediately. This is what I've been trying to say the entire time. Every single time he got those minutes and he was able to play his game, contributed to the game so much. There's no version of this league where Charles Bassey doesn't deserve a real guaranteed roster spot for the 26-27 NBA season. The Warriors, they didn't let him go. His contract played out until the rest of to the end of the season, but he's still a free agent now, still unsigned. As of right now, July 2026, Charles Bassey is a free agent. Again, I already know what some of y'all thinking. Y'all thinking, oh, he a free agent. He ain't getting signed. He trash. That's not what that means at all. What it means is the league, the NBA, they still haven't figured out what we all already know as real fans of the game. It's that Charles Bassey, career 64% shooter, elite efficiency anytime he's given the ball, a statistical anomaly in the G League that nobody else in the G League was able to match. 4 teams in one season, and he showed up professional and productive at every single team. Basketball Bassey isn't a journeyman. He's a guy in the league who keeps figuring it out. He knows what he's doing. He performs every single time. And for some reason, every NBA team, it just aren't getting it right. They aren't signing him. But guess what? There's going to be one team in this league that's going to say, we need a center. And some genius executive in the room will say, we need Charles Bassey. And when that does happen, and Charles Bassey is averaging a double-double on elite efficiency, you'll know who said it first. You know what I mean? But that's the story of Charles Bassey. And let me just say, when the pattern of Charles Bassey overperforming expectations every single time he gets on one of these 10 days, or in the G League, in the Summer League, in the preseason, whatever, when that pattern ends of all these teams sleeping on him and not giving him a chance, and somebody finally recognizes and sees Charles Bassey for the superstar that he is, and he's averaging a double-double in the NBA, you'll know what it is. You know what I mean? Hey, I hope y'all enjoyed the video, man. If you're locked on this, subscribe, follow, like, whatever, Let me know what team you think Charles Bassey is going to, because he is getting signed to a team somewhere. And when he does, we'll all be doing victory laps. I love y'all. Have an amazing day. Peace out.